Many years ago, in the city of Ibadan, the Abaji's family was one of the wealthiest in the entire city. Their mansion was so big that even their own relatives sometimes needed help around. At the center of this grand house sat Damilare Abaji, a 35-year-old corporate worker with a heart as cold as the air conditions in a commercial bank. He was brilliant, but despite all his wealth and power, there was one thing he could not escape: his father's iron will. Chief Abaje, a man with the belly of a well-fed politician, had made a decision. Damilare must marry Aria Alabi, a struggling tailor whose biggest achievement in life was stitching fabrics without poking herself with a needle. Aria, a lady, permit me to say, with the face of a Nollywood princess, but the pockets of a bus conductor, had no choice in the matter either. Her family owned Chief Abaji money, and in the chief words, since your father can't pay with cash, he will pay with your surname. And just like that, Aria was shipped off like a Jumia package into the Abaji's household. From the first day of their marriage, Damilare made it very clear. Listen, Madam Taylor, I don't care if you stay here with me in my house. You are married to my father. You are not my wife. You are just an unfortunate tenant in my house, so stay out of my way. Aria, being a peaceful lady, accepted her fate. She moved into a small room at the farthest corner of the mansion, so far to befit what Damilare described her to be: a tenant. Every morning, she ironed his clothes, made food, and greeted the security man before leaving for her shop like they were long-lost siblings. Meanwhile, Damilare lived his best life. He went to dinners with wealthy businessmen, entertained ladies who wore designer wristwatches and smelled like imported money, and completely ignored Aria. Everything was going on smoothly until Bello arrived. Bello was Damilare's best friend, a well-to-do man. Of course, the rich will always be friends to the rich. He was lively, and unlike Damilare, he actually had human emotions. The moment Bello saw Aria, he gasped. Ah, Dami, why is your wife looking like an abandoned orphan in your house? Damilare rolled his eyes. I am not her husband. Please ignore her. But Bello did not. He started paying attention to Aria, asking her questions, laughing at her dry jokes. Aria, who had never received such kindness in Abaji's household, began to smile more. She spoke more. She even started dressing better, wearing her best Ankara outfits. It didn't take long for Damilare to notice. One Sunday evening, as he was scrolling through his phone and ignoring Aria's existence, Bello walked in. They talked for a few minutes before he got busy again with his phone. Few minutes later, he heard Aria laugh from the kitchen. She never laughed because the atmosphere in his house never permitted her to. Why is she laughing? He asked himself. Curious, he tiptoed towards the kitchen and froze. Bello was standing very close to Aria, watching her stir a pot of egusi soup like she was a contestant on a cooking show. Wow, Aria, you are such a good cook, Bello complimented. Aria stirred the soup proudly and then she smiled. Damn. You are enjoying, oh, Bello turned, expecting his friend to agree, only to find him standing right there with his arms crossed and his face unreadable. The kitchen fell silent. Bello blinked. Aria swallowed and the soup continued boiling like it was also nervous. Then with a voice as sharp as a knife, Damilare said, Bello, come, let's talk. Bello hesitated, then followed Dami out of the kitchen. As soon as they stepped into the hallway, he said, What are you doing? What do you mean? Bello asked, blinking innocently. Don't ask me silly question, please. You are giggling with my... He stopped himself before saying the word wife. Instead, he cleared his throat and then he continued. With that woman? Why? Bello folded his arms. Because she is nice and feeling so lonely, and unlike some people, she actually knows how to treat others with respect. Damilare fled. Be careful, Bello, she's not yours. Bello smacked. Oh, and is she yours? There was another great silence. Damilare had no answer. That night, for the first time since their first marriage, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, all he could see was Bello laughing with Arya, talking to Arya and complimenting her. The next morning, something unexpected happened. Arya woke up to the smell of freshly cooked food. At first, she thought it was a dream. She sniffed the air. Jollof rice and fried plantain? Who cooked her bag? Or am I still dreaming? Slowly, she stepped into the dining room and froze. Dami was sitting at the table, eating a plate of his favorite food. Arya blinked. She had been in this house for months, and not for once had she seen Dami boil water. Now, he has cooked? For who and for what exactly? Damilare finally met her gaze. His expression was unreadable, but his next words shook her to her core. Sit down, Arya, and let's eat. She swallowed. Come on, something is definitely wrong, she said within herself. And deep inside, she knew she was in hot pepper soup. She sat down, however, her heart swelling with joy as she eyed the mountain of steaming jollof rice before her. Her stomach sang hymns of thanksgiving, and her hands trembled in excitement as she reached for the spoon. Just as she was about to scoop a glorious bite, Damilare sat down across from her, folded his arms, and gave her a look so sharp that it could slice yam. Arya, before you eat, we need to talk. Her hand froze mid-air. She knew this tone. This was the "you are about to regret your life choices" tone. But I thought. Shut up and listen, he snapped. Arya, have you gone nuts? Arya blinked rapidly. Her appetite suddenly went on a brief vacation. Damilare, why? Answer me first. He clapped his hands for emphasis. Have you gone nuts? Because only a mad person would be talking to my best friend alone in the kitchen. Arya nearly choked on her own saliva. She looked at the food, then at Dami, then back at the food. She knew she had two options: lie and eat, or tell the truth and fast for the rest of her life as long as she remained under his roof. Dami, I... Shut it! He leaned forward, his eyes blazing. So after everything my father has done for your family, this is how you want to pay him back? Arya winced. He had played the death card again. For years, her family had been owing Damilare's father. And since the day she walked into the slavery marriage, Dami had made sure it was an anthem. Let me remind you, Arya, he continued, tapping the table. Your father is owing my father. That means you owe me. And anything I want you to do is exactly what you should do. And instead of using your time wisely to repay the spiritual debt, you are following Bello up and down like a stray goat. Arya's stomach rumbled, but her hands remained frozen. She knew better than to argue. You think I didn't see how comfortable you were laughing with him? He pressed on. You think I don't know he touched your shoulder? Arya's eyes widened. Shoulder? Tell me, it is not what you think. Oh, so you are now saying I am blind, right? He gasped dramatically. So I don't know what I saw. Arya, I will not warn you again. Avoid Bello. Avoid him like a curse. Shetibo. Arya nodded quickly. Yes, sir. Good. He leaned back. Now eat. Her hand trembled as she picked up the spoon. She managed to scoop a bite of rice into her mouth, but before she could chew, Dami raised a finger. Hey, and one more thing. Arya slowly puts the spoon down. Your punishment, she coughed. Punishment? But Dami, I already promised I won't talk to him again. He smiled sweetly. That I know, but I still don't trust you. So to make sure you have learnt your lesson, you will serve me. Arya's eyes widened in horror. Serve you? But how? Dami smirked. You will find out soon enough. From that day, Arya's life became pure suffering. Damilare turned her into his personal errand girl. Arya, you won't go to your shop today because I want you to clean everywhere. Mind you, if you break anything at all, it will be added to your family's debt. But Demi, some of my customers will be coming for the first fitting today, Arya would say. I don't care. So that in your next life, you will choose your family wisely or just peme when you discover your parents are poor. These words pierced into Arya's spirit, soul and body. She cried, but was crying ever solved any problem? Not at all. Not in this world or in the world to come. The worst part? Her parents would tell her to endure, that they were just among the few unfortunate ones on earth. And Chief had warned earlier that if Arya runs away, then he would make sure her parents rot in jail, so she was all round disadvantaged. One evening, just as Arya was about to rest, Dami dropped a pile of shoes. Clean them, he commanded. Arya looked at the pile. Dami, 20 pairs of shoes? He smiled. Yes. Do you have a problem with that? Arya sighed and picked up a brush. As she was scrubbing his sneakers, his best friend Bello walked in. Arya, is this your destiny? Arya glared at him. Please, Bello, I am still serving punishments from the last time we spoke. And asking me that question is more heartbreaking than the answer I will ever give to you. So if you don't mind, excuse me. Bello didn't know when he teared up. No one deserves this kind of treatment. With this, he walked out without seeing his friend. But did Dami stop? For where? He monitored her movements. If she's in a shop, he would suddenly appear like a spirit just to be sure Bello was nowhere around. He was practically watching over her like a federal monitoring spirit. Arya knew she was finished. Her life was no longer hers. She had become Damilare's prisoner. And the questions that take sleep from her eyes were, will I ever escape? Will I ever talk to Bello again? Will life ever be free to me? Or will I remain Dami's suffering servant forever? For months, she had endured Dami's oppression. He had turned her life into a full-time internship in suffering. He calls her at odd hours to bring him random things. He even sent her voice notes filled with Arya, I want you to, followed by impossible requests. One day, Dami closed from work and wanted to resume his second and passionate job, which is tailoring and monitoring Arya like a CCTV, so that he could count how many times Arya will sneeze and probably follow her like an undercover SARS whenever she steps outside to buy pure water. Funny enough, he hadn't touched her since she came to his house, and any slight opportunity, he'll remind her that she became his wife without him paying her bride price. He was rushing to her shop, flying his car like a Tokumbo jet, eager to resume his precious duty of watching Arya. But in his reckless excitement, he didn't see the pothole that had been waiting for him since 1960. Bam! It was a serious clash with another vehicle. I mean, a fatal accident. Next thing, Damilare was flying like a stuntman, and before he knew it, he was in a hospital bed, bedridden, helpless, and at the mercy of Arya. For the very first time, Arya saw something she never thought she would see. Damilare became weak, powerless, and in need of help. And that was when the spirit of business entered her body. She needed to escape from the broad daylight slavery she's into. And so from that day forward, helping Damilare was no longer free. Every service had a price. To feed him, since he couldn't feed himself, 500 naira per spoon. So if he ate 20 spoons, that would be 20 times 500. To adjust his pillow, she charged 1,000 naira per adjustment. Helping him scratch his back was 2,500 naira per scratch. Damilare, weak and clueless, thought Arya was just being a loving, caring wife. Little did he know that she was in business funding her escape plan. Arya took things further. She started a subscription plan for family members who wanted updates about Damilare's health. Phone call updates, she charged 5,000 naira per call. Video calls to show him lying down was 10,000 naira. Exclusive behind the scenes footage of his suffering, which is a premium package, was 20,000 naira. And she saved too because she was fully in charge of his money. But in all this, nobody knew what she was doing. Before long, she had made enough money to pay back every kobo of her father's debt. One evening, she walked into the room smiling like someone who just won a visa lottery. Damilare, my dear, she called, unfolding a suspicious-looking document in front of him. Damilare, weak and grateful, blinked at her. My sweet Arya, what is this? A surprise, she said sweetly. Damilare, excited, tried to sit up, but his body reminded him that he was as useless as a spoon without handle. Just sign here, Arya continued, pointing at the paper. Damilare, thinking it was a lovey-dovey connected document, shakily grabbed the pen and scribbled his name. The moment his signature touched the paper, Arya let out a loud, victorious laugh. Damilare, congratulations! You have just signed your freedom certificates. I am no longer your wife, as you had made it known from the beginning. And thank goodness, you didn't touch me, not even for a second. You didn't pay my dowry either. I've been here on the ground of my father's death. Damilare's eyes widened. Eh? Yes, so this paper states that I have refunded all that my father owed your father. She calculated it for him. And sincerely, they were to even give her change because it exceeded with 2,500 naira. But she said it was her own contribution to charity. She then ended it with, thank you for your cooperation. Enjoy your bed rest. Before Damilare could process the betrayal, Arya had already packed her bags, booked a first-class keke napep and disappeared into the night, free at last. Damilare's father couldn't believe that Arya possessed such a great wisdom. There was practically nothing he could do because his son had signed. As for Arya's father, he was just like the widow in the Bible whose late husband, a prophet, died, leaving her and her two sons in debt until Elisha intervened. He rolled on the ground. He sang songs of praises. He was happy that his daughter had escaped. He promised never to borrow again. Arya muttered, Kai, poverty is a big disease, oh. So nobody is watching me like Big Brother contestants. Well, thank God for the experience. With this, she became very intentional about her crafts. With the money she saved, she bought different fabrics, threads, needles, and practically everything that turned the shop into a wholesale shop, where other tailors come in to pick one or two things. One afternoon, as Arya was arranging her shop, she heard a familiar voice. Arya, my dear daughter-in-law. She looked up. Damilare's father, the man who once treated her and her family as nobody, was now standing in front of her shop, looking humble like a confused goat. Ah, Arya said, pretending not to recognize him. Who is that? Damilare's father forced a smile. It's me, your father-in-law. father-in-law? Arya asked. The last time I checked, I am not married. You were standing in front of Arya's stitches and fabrics. Damilari's father swallowed hard. Arya, please don't do us like this. Remember you are a Christian. Arya raised her hand, still not interested in his cock and book story. Wait, do you want to buy fabric? If no is your answer, kindly remove your shadow from my shop before you block customers. Arya, my son needs you now. Please don't leave him in this dark moment. Oh. Your son now needs me? It's funny how people will intentionally hurt someone, and when God start dealing with the person, they will go around begging. Well, if your son is in his dark moments, I, Arya, is in my light moments, and light and darkness cannot stay together. So please, sir, for the last time, leave my shop and go get your son a nanny. I am a seamstress and a businesswoman, not a nanny. Damilari's father stood there begging and begging, but Arya didn't say any other word. She was so busy sewing customers' clothes, singing songs of thanksgiving. And when Damilari's father saw that she was carefree about his presence, he left in shame. Arya focused on her business because the only thing she learned from her experience was to fight poverty so that she or her children won't be at the mercy of anyone. And as God will help her, she flourished. She kept expanding her business. One afternoon, she was in her shop adjusting a mannequin when she heard a deep familiar voice. Arya the unstoppable. Arya the billionaire to be. Arya, the CEO of Arya Stitches and Fabrics. She turned and saw Bello, Damilari's friend. Ah, Bello, I cannot talk to you without being punished, she said, laughing. What brings you to my humble empire? Bello grinned. I came to see the woman who escaped modern day slavery and became a boss. Arya chuckled. Yusuf, you know I suffered. Bello shook his head dramatically. I know. I told Damilare I warned him. I said, my guy, treat this woman well, because a good woman is like an iPhone. Once you lose her, you will be forced to use Palasa. But did he listen? No. Arya folded her arms, enjoying the conversation. Bello cleared his throat. But that's not the only reason I came. Arya raised an eyebrow. Okay, let me sit down. This one you are adjusting your shirt like a man about to pay bride price. Bello laughed nervously. Arya, see I have been watching you. Ah, watching me? Arya clutched her chest. Omo, FBI, is this you? Bello laughed. No, I mean I like you. I've always admired your strength, your intelligence, and the way you handled what was meant to break you. Arya tilted her head. So what do you want? Go straight to the point. Time is money. Bello adjusted dramatically. Arya, I want to be the man that will cherish you. The man that will massage your feet when you come back from work. The man that will take you to the Maldives, not because you were crying, but because you deserve soft life. Arya stared at him. Are you serious? Dead serious, Bello replied. Let me show you what it means to be loved properly. Arya exhaled dramatically. You know what? I will think about it. From thinking about it, they started because they've always connected right from Dami's house. Now, if there was one thing Arya knew how to do, it was pettiness. The first thing she did after setting the wedding date was to send Damilare a VIP invitation. She wanted him to be fully aware. Damilare, still bedridden, received the invitation and wailed like an actor in a funeral scene. What have I done to myself? He cried, clutching his bedsheets. And Arya worsened the whole thing by adding a small note which read, Come and witness the wedding of a woman you didn't value and a man who knows her worth. Damilare groaned. She continued, Dami, my dear, if not for your wickedness, I wouldn't have known my worth. If not for your foolishness, I wouldn't have met Bello. So please, I raise a glass to you. The man who lost gold because he was playing with sand. Damilare sighed deeply and then he told whoever cared to listen, if you have a good woman, treat her well, because if you don't, another man will notice her. He will take her away and you'll be left with regrets. Bello and Aria got married and they lived happily thereafter. Bello helped her to upgrade her shop into a fashion school. She became wealthy. I mean, so wealthy because her husband kept on pushing her career. She forgave Damilare because he was the medium God used to bring Bello her wonderful husband. She also saw all what he did to her as a process she must pass through to become an independent woman. Hey, African Tales by Karma Tribe, how are you all doing? For me, I am doing just fine. Today, I would like to end the story by reading from the book of Romans chapter 8 and verse 28. And we know that all things work together for good, to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. It doesn't matter what you are going through. Whenever you want to give up, kindly remember Romans chapter 8 and verse 28. What you are going through is for your own good. The intelligence of God can never be underplayed. God knows what he's doing, and the end of it is glorious. Do you like the story? If yes, kindly give it a thumbs up and please share so it can reach a wider audience. If you love what Kama is doing and you want to support her, kindly use the link on my bio or the link on the description of this video to buy me coffee. Until I bring another exciting story your way, it is a goodbye from here and God bless you.